The threatening letter from the Parents Association landed on Principal Ramirez's desk like a bomb waiting to detonate. Asher stared at the printed words demanding his resignation, his heart pounding as he realized his carefully guarded secret as a gay man in this conservative California town was no longer safe. The fluorescent lights of the Riverside High School office buzzed overhead while he gripped the edge of the desk, his knuckles turning white. Just yesterday, he had been the energetic PE coach everyone admired, pushing the track team through drills under the warm California sun, laughing with the students as they shattered their personal records. Now this single sheet of paper accused him of being unfit to mentor their sons, hinting at photos circulating online that showed him with Lucas at a quiet cafe on the edge of town. No one had proof of anything intimate, but the caption from a student's anonymous post had been enough. Coach Asher and some guy looking way too cozy. Asher's mind raced back to the moment he first realized who he was, back in college when the world felt too small for his truth. He had buried it deep after his traditional Vietnamese-American parents made it clear that success meant a wife, kids, and the American dream on their terms. Now at 28, coaching had become his sanctuary, a place where he could channel his energy into helping kids find their strength without revealing his own. He folded the letter slowly, forcing a calm he didn't feel, and stepped into the hallway where the bell rang for lunch. Students streamed past, high-fiving him as they headed to the cafeteria. "Coach, that new interval training is killer, but it's working," one senior shouted, his medal from last week's meet still dangling from his neck. Asher managed to smile, clapping the boy on the shoulder, but inside the pressure built like a storm cloud. He thought of Lucas waiting at home, the architect who had moved to Riverside 6 months ago to be closer to him, their evenings filled with quiet talks about the future they both wanted but couldn't yet claim publicly. Lucas had been patient, understanding the fear that kept Asher's hand from reaching for his in public, but Asher could feel the cracks forming. As he walked toward the gym to prepare for afternoon practice, his phone buzzed with a text from his mother, "Heard rumors at church. Call me." The words hit harder than any tackle. By the time he reached the locker room, the weight of every expectation pressed down, making each step feel heavier. He changed into his tracksuit, the whistle cold against his chest, and stepped onto the field where the team was already warming up. The sun beat down bright and unforgiving, mirroring the clarity he suddenly craved but couldn't grasp. For the first time in years, Asher wondered if hiding who he was had finally cost him everything he had built. The practice began with sprints and form drills, his voice steady as he corrected stances and timed laps. But his mind kept drifting to the letter sitting on the principal's desk and the conversation he knew he couldn't avoid much longer. Lucas would want honesty, his parents would demand conformity, and the parents' group was already gathering signatures. As the afternoon wore on, one of the star athletes, a quiet junior named Tyler, pulled him aside after a strong set of hurdles. "Coach, whatever's going on, we're with you. You've turned this team around." The simple loyalty stung because Asher knew how fragile it all was. He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat, and blew the whistle for cool down, the sound echoing across the vibrant green field like a call to arms he wasn't sure he could answer. That evening, as he drove home through tree-lined streets dotted with American flags, the weight of the day settled deeper. Lucas's car was already in the driveway of their modest bungalow, lights glowing warmly against the dusk. Asher parked and sat for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, before stepping inside to face the man who made hiding feel like the biggest betrayal of all. The aroma of Lucas's homemade stir-fry filled the air, a small comfort in the gathering storm. "Rough day?" Lucas asked from the kitchen, his dark hair tousled and eyes searching Asher's face with that quiet understanding that always cut straight through defenses. Asher set his bag down, the letter's words echoing in his head, and for the first time considered telling the whole truth right there. But the fear held him back, just like it always had. He crossed the room and pulled Lucas into a brief hug, the embrace carrying more unspoken words than either of them could voice yet. Outside, the California night settled softly, but inside Asher's chest, the conflict raged louder than ever. Lucas set 2 plates on the small dining table, the steam rising from the chicken and vegetables like a gentle reminder of normalcy they both craved. Asher sank into his chair, the day's events replaying in sharp detail. The principal's concerned frown, the way some colleagues had avoided eye contact in the staff lounge, the single parent who had already emailed demanding a meeting. "They think I'm a bad influence," Asher finally said, his voice low as he pushed food around his plate. Lucas reached across the table, his fingers brushing Asher's wrist in a touch that felt both comforting and dangerous in its openness. "You're the best thing that's happened to those kids in years. Their times are dropping, their confidence is soaring. This isn't about coaching." Asher met his gaze, seeing the frustration Lucas tried to hide behind his architect's calm. They had met 2 years ago at a professional development conference in San Francisco, where Lucas's easy laugh and sharp insights about youth mental health had drawn Asher in like gravity. Back then, Asher was still dating women to keep up appearances, but one late-night conversation about dreams and identity had changed everything. Now, sharing this house on the quiet cul-de-sac felt like the most honest part of his life, and the most terrifying. "My mom called," Asher admitted, the words tasting bitter. "She wants me to come to dinner Sunday." Alone. Lucas's jaw tightened, but he nodded, ever the supportive partner who understood the cultural weight Asher carried from his immigrant family. "I get it. But how long are we going to keep doing this dance? I moved here for us, not to be your secret roommate." The question hung between them, heavy with the months of careful planning, stolen weekends, and whispered promises. Asher stood abruptly, pacing to the window where streetlights cast long shadows across the lawn. He thought about the betrayal that had started this mess. A colleague, Coach Ramirez's assistant in the girls' volleyball program, had apparently forwarded the cafe photo to the parents' group chat after overhearing Asher on a private call with Lucas. It wasn't malice, or so she claimed later in a tearful apology, but the damage was done. Rumors spread like wildfire through the PDA, twisting innocent moments into something sinister. "I sacrificed everything to get here," Asher said, turning back, his voice cracking with the raw honesty he rarely allowed. "College on scholarships, building this program from nothing. If I come out now, they win. The parents win." Lucas rose, crossing the room to stand close, his presence steady like the blueprints he drew for a living. "Or you win by being yourself. Those kids look up to you because you teach them resilience, not because you hide." Their conversation stretched late into the night, voices rising and falling like waves, each word peeling back layers of fear Asher had carried since his first crush in high school. He remembered the summer he spent pretending, joining church youth groups, dating the pastor's daughter to satisfy his parents' hopes. Lucas listened without judgment, sharing his own story of coming out to his supportive Midwestern family years ago, the freedom it brought him to design buildings that reflected real lives. By midnight they sat on the couch, shoulders touching, the television flickering with some forgotten show. Asher's phone buzzed again, this time from his best friend on staff, Mark, the history teacher who had always been his confidant. The text read, "Heard about the letter. Want to talk?" Asher hesitated, then replied he'd call tomorrow. But deep down he wondered if even Mark could handle the truth without pulling away. The next morning dawned bright over the school parking lot, and Asher arrived early to set up cones for agility drills. The team gathered, energy high despite the whispers circulating among parents at drop-off. Tyler, the junior hurdler, led warm-ups with new confidence, crediting Asher's personalized training plan for his recent personal best. "Coach, state qualifiers are next month. We got this because of you," Tyler said during a water break, his sincerity cutting through Asher's doubt. Yet as practice intensified, a group of parents gathered at the fence, their stares heavy. One mother, Mrs. Thompson, whose son was on the team, approached during cool-down. "We need to talk about values, Coach." Her words landed like a starting pistol, signaling the conflict was only beginning to escalate. Asher maintained professionalism, redirecting to the upcoming meet, but inside the psychological toll mounted. That afternoon in the guidance office, Lucas pulled him aside between sessions. "I heard the parents are petitioning the board. Let me help. I've counseled kids through this exact fear." Asher shook his head, the sacrifice of his silence feeling heavier than ever. "Not yet. I need to handle this my way." Lucas's eyes flashed with hurt, a crack in their bond that neither wanted to name. As the school day ended, Asher drove to his parents' house alone, the familiar route lined with palm trees feeling like a path to judgment. His mother greeted him with forced warmth, his father silent at the table, the air thick with unspoken expectations. "Son, whatever people are saying, we raised you better," his father said finally, the words slicing deeper than any parental email. Asher left that night with his identity still locked away, but the pressure was building toward an inevitable breaking point. Back home, Lucas waited up, the distance between them growing even as they shared the same bed. The misunderstanding lingered unspoken. Lucas saw retreat where Asher saw protection. Sleep came slowly, haunted by the faces of students who trusted him and the man he loved who deserved more. The school board meeting loomed like a dark cloud over the following week, emails flooding Asher's inbox with demands for transparency. He threw himself into coaching with renewed intensity, staying late to review film with the team and adjust training regimens that had already produced measurable gains. Tyler broke the school record in the 400-meter hurdles during a timed trial, the entire squad erupting in cheers that echoed across the track. "This is because you believe in us, Coach," Tyler said afterward, wiping sweat from his brow, his admiration genuine and pure. Asher clapped him on the back, the moment a brief light in the gathering darkness. Yet at home the tension with Lucas simmered. Over breakfast one Saturday, Lucas set down his coffee with deliberate calm. "I saw the petition online. 50 signatures already. When are you going to stop pretending this doesn't affect us?" Asher's fork paused midair, the familiar guilt twisting in his chest. He thought of their first date, a hike in the hills where Lucas had shared stories of designing inclusive community centers, his passion for helping others live openly mirroring Asher's hidden dreams. "I can't lose this job. It's who I am." The words felt hollow even as he spoke them. Lucas stood, clearing plates with quiet efficiency. "No, Asher. Who you are is the man I fell for, not the one hiding behind a whistle." The exchange left a rift, small but widening, as Asher drove to school for weekend voluntary practice. Mark, the history teacher, cornered him in the faculty lounge later that day. "Look, I know things are rough. If you need someone to vouch for you." His friend's offer seemed sincere, yet Asher sensed hesitation, the same subtle shift he had noticed in others. Later that evening, during a team bonding pizza night at a local spot, one of the seniors accidentally mentioned seeing Asher and Lucas together at the movies weeks earlier. The comment was innocent, but it spread through whispers, amplifying the rumors. Asher excused himself early, driving aimlessly before pulling into a quiet park overlook. There, under the stars, he confronted the core of his struggle. The journey to accept himself had stalled the moment he stepped into this role. College experiments, quiet dates in distant cities, all buried under layers of duty. Lucas's texts went unanswered that night, the silence another form of sacrifice. Monday brought the first formal hearing. Parents filled the auditorium, their faces a mix of concern and accusation. Principal Ramirez called Asher forward, the letter now joined by printed screenshots. "We have to address these concerns for the students' sake," she said gently. Asher defended his record, citing improved test scores and fitness metrics and the team's rising rankings, but the questions turned personal. "Are you in a relationship that could influence the boys?" one father demanded. Asher's response was measured, denying nothing yet revealing nothing, but the damage lingered. Lucas waited outside afterward, his architect's portfolio bag slung over one shoulder, eyes full of quiet support mixed with frustration. "You didn't have to do that alone." Their drive home was tense, the misunderstanding deepening as Lucas interpreted Asher's silence as shame. That week, betrayal struck from an unexpected place. Mark, in what he later claimed was an attempt to help, mentioned Asher's situation to his wife, who then shared it at book club with several PDA members. The added details fueled the fire, turning speculation into near certainty. Asher confronted Mark in the parking lot after school, the argument sharp and painful. "I trusted you," Asher said, voice breaking with the loss of a friendship he had relied on for years. Mark apologized profusely, but the rift mirrored the one with his parents, who called again demanding he fix this before it ruined the family name. Lucas offered comfort that night, their conversation stretching into the early hours as they lay side by side, hands intertwined. Asher spoke of his childhood in a strict household where emotions were secondary to achievement, how sports had become his escape and his cage. Lucas shared his own path to counseling, helping teens navigate identity in a world quick to judge. For the first time, Asher allowed himself to imagine a life without hiding, the possibility both exhilarating and terrifying. Practice the next day brought renewed focus. The team prepared for the district meet, Tyler leading with infectious energy. "Coach, we run for you," one sophomore declared, and the words carried Asher through the session. Yet as he watched them stretch under the vibrant sky, the psychological weight pressed harder. The sacrifice of his truth felt necessary for their success, but each lap they completed reminded him of the cost to his own soul. Lucas surprised him at the field after practice, bringing water and a quiet smile. "I'm proud of you no matter what." The gesture mended some of the distance, but Asher knew the real test was coming. As the week closed, the board scheduled a vote on his position. Asher spent the weekend reviewing old journals from college, pages filled with questions about who he was meant to be. The entries revealed a young man torn between love and duty, a pattern repeating now with Lucas. Sunday dinner with his parents was strained, his mother serving traditional dishes while his father avoided eye contact. "We want what's best," they repeated, their traditional values clashing with the modern world Asher inhabited. Driving home, he pulled over to call Lucas. "I need you," he admitted, the vulnerability a small step toward the man he wanted to become. The call ended with plans for a quiet evening, but the looming board meeting hung over them like an approaching storm. The district championship qualifiers arrived amid the chaos, the track buzzing with nervous energy as parents lined the bleachers in greater numbers than usual. Asher adjusted his whistle, the metal cool against his palm, and called the team to the starting line. Tyler exploded off the blocks and the hurdles, clocking a personal best that had the crowd murmuring in approval. "That's what dedication looks like," Asher shouted, his voice carrying across the field despite the whispers about his future. Lucas watched from the sidelines, blending in as a concerned staff member, his presence a silent anchor. After the meet, with Riverside placing first in 3 events, Tyler approached Asher with a medal around his neck. "Coach, none of this happens without you teaching us to push past limits." The words landed like validation, but the parents' group lingered nearby, their petition now boasting over 100 names. Back in the office, Principal Ramirez showed Asher the latest emails. "They're pushing for your suspension pending review." Asher nodded, the conflict inside him reaching new heights. That evening, over takeout Thai food, Lucas pressed gently. "You almost lost it out there when they questioned your methods. Talk to me." Asher set down his fork, the floodgates opening as he described the betrayal from Mark, the family pressure that made every holiday feel like an interrogation, and the deep fear that coming out would erase the respect he had earned. Lucas listened, then shared a story from his counseling sessions about a student who found strength in authenticity. "Your team already respects the real you. The rest will follow." Their conversation turned intimate in its honesty, hands clasped across the table, the bond strengthening even as external forces pulled. Yet a new misunderstanding arose when Lucas suggested Asher take a leave to focus on his mental health. "You think I can't handle it?" Asher snapped, the words sharper than intended, echoing old insecurities about weakness. Lucas withdrew slightly, the hurt visible in his eyes. The next days blurred with intensified training. The team responded to Asher's passion, breaking more records in practice. One afternoon, a parent confronted him directly after drills. "My son looks up to you. Don't make us regret that." Asher held his ground, citing data on improved team performance, but the encounter left him drained. Mark tried to apologize again in the staff room, offering to speak at the board meeting, but Asher's trust was fractured, the friendship a casualty of his secret. At home, Lucas prepared a surprise, sketches of a community sports center he was designing, one that included LGBTQ youth programs. "This is what I see for us someday," he said softly. Asher traced the lines, the vision stirring hope amid the turmoil. The sacrifice he considered, stepping down to protect Lucas from scrutiny, felt both noble and cowardly. Family dinner that Sunday escalated when his sister joined via video call from college. "Asher, be honest with us. Are the rumors true?" The directness forced him to deflect, but the lie tasted like ash. Driving back, he pulled into a viewpoint overlooking the valley lights, dialing Lucas for reassurance. Their call lasted an hour, filled with memories of their first trip to the coast, where they had walked hand in hand on an empty beach. The shared history reminded Asher why fighting mattered. Practice the following week focused on strategy for the state qualifiers, Asher pouring every ounce of himself into mentoring. Tyler's progress was remarkable, his confidence soaring under Asher's guidance. "You're more than a coach," the boy said during a cool-down talk about handling pressure. The words echoed Asher's own internal journey. Yet the board meeting approached, and with it the possibility of losing everything. Lucas offered to attend as moral support, but Asher declined, fearing it would confirm the rumors. The decision created another small fracture, Lucas retreating into work on his designs. The night before the meeting, Asher lay awake, the ceiling fan spinning like his thoughts. He replayed every decision that led here. The choice to stay closeted for his career, the love he had found despite it, the students who thrived because of his hidden strength. Dawn brought resolve mixed with dread. At the board session, he defended his record with data and testimonials from athletes, the room tense with opposing views. Parents spoke of moral standards, students countered with stories of inspiration. The vote was tabled for further review, a temporary reprieve that felt like walking a tightrope. Lucas met him afterward at a quiet diner, their reunion tentative but warm. "You stood tall today," Lucas said, the pride in his voice bridging the gap. They drove home talking about the future, small steps toward openness emerging in their words. Yet the pressure from parents intensified with online campaigns, forcing Asher to confront how his silence affected not just himself, but Lucas's happiness. The week ended with another strong practice, the team's unity a bright spot. Asher watched them run under the vibrant sun, realizing his growth was tied to their success. The turning point loomed, but for now the conflict continued to build, each choice carrying consequences that shaped the man he was becoming. State qualifier week arrived with perfect California weather, the track gleaming under clear skies as teams from across the region converged. Asher arrived early, clipboard in hand, the weight of the board's pending decision heavy on his shoulders. Tyler approached with focused eyes. "Coach, today's for all of us." The meet unfolded in a blur of adrenaline, sprints, relays, and finally the hurdles where Tyler dominated, qualifying for state with a time that shattered expectations. The team erupted, lifting Asher onto their shoulders in celebration as parents watched from the stands. In that moment, something shifted. A local reporter captured the scene, posting footage online with the caption highlighting Asher's coaching impact. Back at school, the buzz spread. Parents who had signed the petition began to waver, their emails shifting from demands to questions. Lucas waited in the parking lot, a proud smile breaking through the tension of recent weeks. "You did it." They saw the real you out there. Their drive home was lighter, conversation flowing about the small victories. Yet the misunderstanding from earlier resurfaced when Lucas suggested celebrating publicly. "Not yet," Asher said, the old fear returning. Lucas nodded, but the hurt lingered, prompting a deeper talk that night about sacrifice and timing. Asher opened up about his identity journey, admitting how coaching had become both shield and prison. Lucas shared his own struggles with patience, the love between them deepening through the honesty. The next day brought the betrayals resolution as Mark publicly supported Asher in a staff email, admitting his role in the rumor mill and offering to testify. The gesture mended their friendship slowly, a reminder that loyalty could survive tests. Family pressure eased slightly when Asher's mother called after seeing the meet highlights. "You make us proud with those kids," she said, a crack in the traditional wall. Asher hung up with cautious hope. Practice intensified for the state championship, the team laser-focused. Tyler pulled Asher aside one afternoon. "Whatever they're saying, you've taught me more than running. You've taught me to be real." The words hit hard, mirroring Asher's internal growth. As the days counted down, the board reconvened. Testimonials poured in from students and parents alike, many citing the team's turnaround as evidence of Asher's value. The vote passed in his favor, but with a condition for continued observation. Relief washed over him as he left the meeting, Lucas waiting outside with open arms. We made it through. Their embrace in the hallway felt like the first real step toward acceptance. Yet the climax built as state finals approached. Asher poured everything into final preparations, the psychological toll transforming into determination. Lucas attended practices openly now, his presence shifting from secret to quiet support. The misunderstanding cleared fully during a late-night conversation where Asher admitted his fear of losing Lucas. "I choose us," he said simply, the decision marking his growth. The team responded with their best week yet. On the eve of the championship, Asher gathered them in the locker room. "This is about more than medals. It's about who we become." The words carried his journey, resonating deeply. The next day at the state meet, under bright lights and roaring crowds, Tyler ran the race of his life, crossing first in a stunning upset. The team swarmed the podium, chanting Asher's name as cameras flashed. In the victory interview, Tyler grabbed the mic. "Coach Asher showed us what real strength is. He deserves to be here." The clip went viral, parents who had pressured him now flooding his inbox with apologies. Mrs. Thompson approached him at the awards, eyes downcast. "We were wrong. Your work speaks for itself." Asher accepted the words with grace, the unexpected consequence of success rewriting his fate. Lucas stood nearby, their eyes meeting in a moment of shared triumph. Driving home that night, the weight lifted, conversations turned to the future. Asher's family texted congratulations, the first step toward broader acceptance. The journey had tested everything, but through action and truth, Asher had emerged stronger. The celebration at school the following Monday was electric. Banners hung in the gym and the entire student body cheering as the team paraded their state trophy. Asher stood on the stage, whistle still around his neck, the applause washing over him like validation he had earned through every hard choice. Tyler presented him with a plaque from the athletes, inscribed with "Coach who taught us to run toward truth." The moment brought tears to Asher's eyes, the culmination of months of internal struggle. Lucas watched from the front row, his smile reflecting the love that had endured every test. In the weeks that followed, apologies continued to arrive. Parents who had demanded his firing now praised his dedication in community meetings, some even sharing their own growth in understanding. Mark's friendship fully restored, the two coaches sharing laughs over past tensions. Asher's family invited Lucas to dinner for the first time, the conversation tentative but warm, traditional expectations softening in the face of undeniable success and happiness. Asher reflected often on the path, the shocking exposure that forced confrontation, the misunderstandings that nearly broke his bond with Lucas, the betrayal that tested loyalties, and the sacrifice of nearly walking away from coaching. Each decision had shaped him, proving that facing truth head-on led to genuine acceptance. One evening on the same sports field where it all began, Asher and Lucas walked hand in hand under the setting sun, the vibrant sky mirroring their renewed hope. "I found myself because of you," Asher said, pulling Lucas close. Their future stretched bright ahead, filled with plans for the community center and open lives. The team thrived, more students joining with stories of inspiration from Asher's example. As months passed, Asher continued coaching with authenticity, his journey inspiring others to embrace their identities without fear. The experience had taught him that love, friendship, and family could evolve when met with courage. Yet the greatest reward remained the quiet moments with Lucas, where acceptance felt complete. Standing on the field one final time that season, Asher looked at the empty bleachers and smiled, knowing every challenge had been worth the growth. The man who once hid now stood tall, his story a testament to resilience in modern America. True or false? Acceptance from society and family only truly arrives after proving your worth through public success and personal sacrifice.